The year was 1988. Near the coast of Scotland, the world's most advanced and most productive oil platform suddenly erupted, shaking the sea with a thunderous explosion. And within just a few minutes, it was swallowed by the ocean forever. For 3 full months, the investigation team searched for answers, but the true cause of the disaster remained a mystery. Then, 3 months later, when the wreckage was pulled up from the ocean floor, investigators found something unexpected inside the debris: a small piece of paper. And what was written on that piece of paper exposed the entire truth. Welcome back again. In 1976, in the middle of the desolate North Sea, 190 kilometers from the Scottish city of Aberdeen, an offshore oil platform named Piper Alpha began extracting and producing oil. Piper Alpha was an incredibly powerful and advanced oil platform. It was built to withstand ocean storms reaching speeds of 185 kilometers per hour. Located far out at sea, with no city for miles around, Piper Alpha was a city of its own. At any given time, 226 workers lived and worked here in rotating 24-hour shifts. Not only was it the most high-tech rig of its era, it was also the most productive oil platform in the world. At its peak, it produced over 130,000 barrels of oil every single day. Seeing its success, just 4 years after opening in 1980, Piper Alpha was also expanded to process natural gas and liquid petroleum gas. Its total weight was 34,000 tons, roughly equivalent to 100 train engines, and its height, a staggering 90 feet above the water's surface. But more than half of the entire structure sat beneath the ocean. This was not a floating platform. Remarkably, its foundation was anchored directly to the seabed, 750 feet below. Piper Alpha's main job was oil production, carried out on what was called the production deck. Several modules were installed on this deck. Module A pumped the oil and gas up from below. Modules B and C processed the oil and gas. And to power everything, to supply electricity to the entire rig, there was a separate module packed with heavy-duty generators. This was an extremely complex operation that required constant, regular maintenance. That's exactly why Piper Alpha kept a team of over 200 workers on board at all times. Above the production deck, living quarters had been built for them, complete with an entertainment room, cafeteria, and sleeping areas. July 6, 1988. For the workers on Piper Alpha, it started like any other day. At 7:45 a.m., the maintenance staff contacted the control room and requested permission to carry out maintenance on Pump A. The shift operator reviewed the paperwork and approved the request. This was completely routine. On any offshore oil platform, regular maintenance is standard procedure. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. To understand what happened next, you need to know how these platforms work. Offshore rigs pump oil and gas from thousands of feet below the seabed. They process it and then use compressor pumps to push it out through export pipelines. Because we're dealing with crude oil, natural gas, and LPG, all extremely flammable fuels, the entire system is fitted with multiple safety valves. If any pump fails, the gas valve automatically shuts off. Automatically. No human action needed. On Piper Alpha's production deck, Pump A was compressing gas at the first stage. Pump B was on standby. Its only job was to serve as backup if Pump A ever failed. Normally, Pump A runs for several days continuously, then gets a rest while Pump B takes over. Or, if Pump A breaks down, Pump B is immediately switched on. At noon, the maintenance workers began working on Pump B's safety valve, for which they had already received permission that morning. By 6 p.m., the maintenance on Pump B's safety valve was still not complete. The workers decided to reschedule it for the next day. And there was nothing dangerous about that. Pump A was running fine. And if anything went wrong overnight, the gas valve would automatically shut off. The morning shift ended. All workers handed over to the night shift. The night shift had 62 workers on duty. The remaining 164 workers went up to the living quarters to rest. For the night shift workers, it was just another routine working day. But then, everything started to go wrong. At 9:45 p.m., an alarm sounded in the control room. Pump A had tripped. It had stopped working. Pump A was compressing gas at 78 times normal atmospheric pressure, roughly equivalent to 78 times the air pressure inside a car tire. A team of pump operators immediately went to pump A and tried to restart it. Normally, restarting is simple and quick, but this time it wouldn't start. Now the situation was serious. Gas was continuously building up in the tank. If the pump wasn't back online within 30 minutes, the gas valve would automatically shut and the entire production process would stop. Shutting down production wasn't dangerous by itself, but the workers wanted to avoid it at all costs. The operators had only one option left: start the backup, pump B. They went to the control room and checked the maintenance sheet. It showed that the day shift had not yet started maintenance on pump B, so they made the decision: switch pump B on. The moment pump B started, everything appeared to return to normal. But just 10 minutes later, at 9:55 p.m., multiple alarms started going off across the control panel. These weren't ordinary alarms. These were gas leak alarms. Something, somewhere on the rig, was leaking gas. Before the control room staff could react, a massive explosion tore through the platform. Fire erupted across the rig. A nearby maintenance ship's captain witnessed the entire moment and later described seeing a blue flame burst out first. The explosion threw the entire rig into chaos. Some workers jumped into the ocean to save themselves. Others followed emergency protocols and waited for helicopter rescue. The rig's automatic safety systems kicked in, shutting down generators, pumps, and compressors. A place that had buzzed with noise 24 hours a day fell into an eerie, terrifying silence. But that silence didn't last long. At 10:20 p.m., a second explosion. Larger, more violent. With the raging fire, helicopter rescue was now completely impossible. A nearby ship installing underwater pipelines witnessed everything and recorded the entire scene on camera. The news spread like wildfire. News channels across Europe and around the world began reporting on the disaster in real time. Before anyone could even attempt to fight the fire, a third explosion hit. This one shook all of Piper Alpha to its core. The production modules and living quarters collapsed and crashed into the sea. A day that had begun as a routine working day was about to become one of the darkest days in history. In the Piper Alpha disaster, 167 workers lost their lives. Only 59 workers managed to survive, under the most extreme and desperate conditions imaginable. From the first explosion to the third, it took just 1.5 hours for Piper Alpha to be completely destroyed. The shock waves hit the oil industry hard. Workers across the North Sea began resigning in large numbers. Several other oil platforms were shut down for emergency safety inspections. And one burning question was on everyone's mind: how did something this advanced, this productive, collapse so completely? An investigation team was formed. Their job to get to the bottom of it? But they had almost nothing to work with. A few photographs, a handful of eyewitness testimonies. For months, no one could find the true cause. Then, 3 months later, when the wreckage was pulled up from the ocean floor, investigators found a document, a piece of paper, and that document revealed everything. On the morning of the disaster at 7:45 a.m., when the maintenance team had requested permission to work on Pump B, they had also submitted a separate document requesting permission to remove and maintain Pump B's safety valve. That was the document the investigation team found. When the night shift operators decided to turn Pump B on, they checked the maintenance sheet and confirmed that no maintenance work had been started on Pump B, but they never checked the second document, the one confirming that the day shift had already removed Pump B's safety valve. The pump and its safety valve are located in 2 separate rooms. That's why no one noticed. No one realized that Pump B's safety valve had already been removed. Without its safety valve, Pump B began leaking gas. Within just 10 minutes, the gas broke through the firewall of the module and ignited. The fire in Module C quickly spread to Module B, where thousands of tons of crude oil were stored. The burning crude oil triggered the second explosion, which damaged the LPG pipeline. And the damaged LPG pipeline caused the third explosion. To understand just how powerful that final explosion was at the time of the first fire, there was enough gas on that platform to supply the entire United Kingdom's domestic gas needs for a full day. One small paperwork mistake. That's all it took. The company lost billions of dollars, and 167 lives were gone forever. Today, in the Scottish city of Aberdeen, a sculpture stands in memory of the workers who were lost. Their families visit it regularly to remember and to grieve. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and share it generously. Thank you so much for all your wonderful comments. See you in the next incredible video.